It was an ordinary morning at the city's central bank branch. Outside, the streets buzzed with life, honking cars, rushing pedestrians, the distant rhythm of construction. Inside, the atmosphere was pristine, clinical, efficient. The floors gleamed under the polished light fixtures. Employees moved in practiced patterns behind sleek glass counters. Every movement seemed rehearsed, mechanical. At 9:03 a.m., the front doors opened, and a man stepped inside. He moved slowly, his right hand gripping a cane, his left holding a small, weathered leather briefcase. He looked to be in his late 70s, perhaps older. His suit was modest but well cared for, pressed slacks, a faded tie, and a blazer that had clearly been tailored for a younger version of himself. His shoes were polished, though scuffed at the edges. He stood quietly near the entrance, eyes scanning the room. People bustled past him, not out of rudeness, but because they didn't see him. To them, he was invisible, just another elderly man blending into the background of their busy lives. After a few moments, he approached the front desk and greeted the receptionist with a gentle smile. "Good morning, miss," he said. "I was hoping to speak with the branch manager, if possible." The receptionist didn't return the smile. Without looking up from her screen, she responded flatly, "You'll have to wait. He's busy." The man nodded. "Of course. I'll wait." He turned and took a seat in the waiting area. The chairs were modern but uncomfortable, designed more for appearance than comfort. He sat with his briefcase resting on his lap, both hands folded over it. 15 minutes passed. Then 30. No one called his name. No one asked if he needed assistance. Clients came and went, greeted with smiles and handshakes. A man in a sharp blue suit was offered water while he waited. A woman with a designer handbag was escorted to a private desk. But the elderly man remained, unnoticed, untouched by hospitality. He never complained. He simply watched. He observed the rhythm of the branch, the chatter, the impatient sighs, the quick typing on keyboards. There was something oddly serene about his presence, as if he existed just slightly outside the frame of normal time. After nearly 2 hours, a commotion drew attention. The manager emerged from his office, tall, mid-30s, immaculately groomed, with a gold watch that caught the overhead lights. He was speaking loudly into a Bluetooth headset, laughing at something only he found amusing. He spotted the elderly man and, still on the call, walked past him with barely a glance. Minutes later, the man approached the desk again. "Excuse me, sir," he said, politely. "I believe you're the manager. I was wondering if you had a moment to speak." The manager cut him off with a raised hand. "You've been here a while, haven't you?" "Yes," the man replied. "About 2 hours." "And what's this regarding?" the manager asked, visibly annoyed. "I'd like to speak with someone from the executive office, if possible. It's a matter I've waited some time to address." The manager scoffed. "Look, sir. People don't just walk in off the street and demand meetings with corporate. That's not how we do things here. You'll have to submit a request through the proper channels." "I understand," the old man said calmly. "But I was told I could stop by directly." "By whom?" "An old colleague." That set the manager off. "Right. Listen, I don't mean to be rude, but we're not running a community center here. We're a financial institution. If you're here to cash a check or update your account, someone at reception can assist you. Otherwise, I suggest you come back with an appointment." There was a pause. A long, uncomfortable one. The old man looked down at his briefcase, then back at the manager. "Very well," he said, and returned to his seat. At that moment, everything shifted. The glass doors swung open again, this time with a subtle urgency. 3 people entered the branch, 2 men and 1 woman, all dressed in tailored suits. Their presence immediately commanded attention. Conversation stopped. The staff straightened. Even the security guard at the door adjusted his stance. The manager noticed them instantly and sprang into action. He turned off his headset, checked his reflection in a nearby glass panel, and approached with a wide, polished smile. "Good morning," he said cheerfully. "Welcome. I'm the branch manager here, let me know how I can assist." The female executive stepped forward. She was in her early 50s, sharp eyes, silver hair pulled into a clean bun. She walked past the manager without so much as a glance and made her way directly to the elderly man still seated quietly by the wall. "Mr. Bennett," she said, her voice full of warmth and familiarity. "I'm so sorry to keep you waiting. I hope they've been treating you well." The room went dead silent. All eyes turned toward the old man and the woman addressing him. The manager, completely thrown off, took a step forward. I'm sorry, do you know each other?" The woman turned slowly, her expression icy. "This man," she said, "is not just someone I know. He is the founder of this bank. He was our first investor. He hired my mentor. He taught us what integrity means. And you've had him waiting here for 2 hours?" The color drained from the manager's face. He stammered, but nothing came out. His arrogance had evaporated in an instant. Everyone in the bank, from tellers to assistants, watched the scene unfold in stunned silence. Then, Mr. Bennett, still calm, still composed, stood and opened his briefcase. From inside, he withdrew a thick, sealed envelope. He handed it to the executive with steady hands. She took it, opened it, and read the letter inside. Her jaw tightened slightly as she scanned the contents. When she finished, she looked up. "You're being reassigned," she said coldly to the manager. "Effective immediately. You don't represent the values this bank was built on." The manager stood frozen. The elderly man simply nodded, then turned toward the door, walking slowly but with quiet dignity. He didn't need to raise his voice. His presence had said everything. But the real story of who he was, and why he had returned, was only just beginning. As Mr. Bennett exited the main hall of the bank, the tension he left behind was palpable. Employees remained frozen, exchanging quiet, confused glances. No one knew what to say. No one dared to follow him. The manager, pale, speechless, disarmed, still stood in the same spot, replaying the moment over and over in his mind. What had just happened? Meanwhile, Mr. Bennett and the executive, Ms. Holloway, stepped into a private conference room down the hall. She closed the door gently behind them, then turned with a softness in her eyes that hadn't been seen on the main floor. "You didn't have to come in person," she said. "You could have just sent word, and we'd have taken care of it." Mr. Bennett placed his briefcase on the table and took a seat with a small smile. "I know," he said. "But I wanted to see it for myself. I wanted to feel the pulse of the place again, to see what it's become." Ms. Holloway paused. "And, what did you see?" He looked at her for a long moment. "Some things have changed for the better. The systems. The design. The scale." Then he paused. "But some things feel lost." She nodded, sensing exactly what he meant. "That's why you wrote the letter, isn't it?" Mr. Bennett reached into his briefcase again, pulling out a second envelope, older, yellowed, sealed with wax. He slid it across the table. "This one isn't about reassignment. This one is my final directive." Ms. Holloway blinked. "Are you stepping down completely?" He nodded. "I'm leaving everything behind. The shares, the rights, the title. I've appointed someone to take my place, someone who still believes that the heart of banking isn't in numbers or suits, but in people." She opened the envelope slowly. Inside was a document naming a successor, not her, not one of the board members, not a long-time executive. It was someone from far outside the traditional hierarchy. "You want to promote," she trailed off in disbelief, scanning the name again. "A junior clerk from the regional branch?" "She was kind to me," Mr. Bennet said. "Years ago. When I walked into that small office wearing the same suit, the same shoes. She offered me coffee. Asked about my day. Listened. That's all I ever wanted from this place, humanity." Ms. Holloway looked down at the document again, then back at the man who had built the foundation of it all. "They'll question this," she said. "They'll challenge it." He smiled. "Let them. I built this institution from the ground up. And I'm not asking for their approval, I'm giving my blessing." There was a long silence. Finally, Ms. Holloway whispered, "Do they know who you really are? The staff out there?" He shook his head. "They don't need to. They already showed me who they are." Back on the main floor, the news spread quickly. Word of the manager's dismissal rippled through the building like a quiet storm. Whispers passed from one corner to the next, and curiosity grew about the old man no one had recognized just hours earlier. The dismissed manager sat in his office, his head in his hands, haunted by his own arrogance. No angry customer, no formal reprimand could have humbled him the way Mr. Bennet's silent dignity had. He had mocked a man not because he was old, but because he didn't look important. That was the lesson. Mr. Bennet left the building with no entourage, no applause. Just the soft click of the door behind him and the weight of legacy on his shoulders. But before he disappeared into the flow of the city streets, he paused for a moment just outside the entrance. A young security guard who had watched everything from a distance approached him cautiously. "Sir," he said, hesitating. I didn't know who you were, but I'm sorry for the way things went down." Mr. Bennet turned to him with a kind smile. "It's not about knowing who people are," he said gently. "It's about treating them like they matter, before you find out." And with that, he walked into the sunlight, disappearing among the crowd, just as quietly as he had arrived.